talk about my mom. I don't even know where to start from talking about that woman. It's just a lot. But well, let's start this way. I think the first thing I want to share about my beautiful mom is how she wanted us to be different as our kids. I don't know what it was about that, but that was always her emphasis. As teenagers, for example, we would say, oh, everybody's wearing, or everybody's going to, or everybody is doing. And her usual response was, you are not everybody. And I can remember that used to be so hard because that meant that we were so different from most of the youths around us, most of the teenagers, and maybe children at the earlier years. And as her first kid, man, that was hard because she just knew what she wanted her children to be like. She was a very intentional parent. And that influenced who many of us are today, all her children. She told us all the time to stand out, to be different, to not just follow the crowd, how we spoke, how we studied, what schools we went to, how we dressed. She was super intentional about that. And like I said, that became a tool of a very strong identity that some of us have today. We just know who we are and why we are that person, the choices that we make, why we make those choices. That was my mother's influence. My mom was tough on identity. She told us the stories about herself and her growing up. And so that's another key thing about her. She was a storyteller. My mom was a storyteller about regular African stories, but she was also a storyteller about things that happened to her. I remember clearly an unfortunate incident when robbers came into our house, stole things, and went, and people came to visit her after that incident. And my mom told the story about someone stepping on our toe over and over and over again. And me and my siblings just had fun laughing at her, telling the stories and acting it out. It wasn't just the telling of the stories, it was the acting it out. So she was a deep storyteller. She was an actress to the core. She could act anything. Even though she wasn't a formal actress, it was in her. It was natural. And we saw it blossom every time she had to share about an incident that happened, something at work, something about family. She was a kind storyteller. And I look back as I say this and I realize the strong impact that her conversations about identity, knowing who you are and accepting who you are, and if that was different, that was okay. I see it influence how myself and my siblings operate in life as super different, not because we want to be, it's just who we've been taught to be, as well as how we are storytellers by design. People that know me know that I can barely answer a question without telling it in a story style. I learned that majorly from my mom, who was that deep storyteller. And for acting, well, I'm with some kind of acting today. My sister as well was in acting, and I can imagine where that came from. She was an informal actress. We are or have been former actresses because we had the opportunities that she probably didn't have. The other key thing about my mom was her love for education. And it wasn't love for education that she was telling us. It was love for education that she had and she did. For example, my mom professionally was a nurse. And so she went through school of midwifery. She had a bachelor's in nursing and she had a master's in nursing. And she practiced nursing for as long as she was alive. That's all I saw her do, from wearing her dress and the small nurse's hat to changing to a skirt and a shirt when she became a more senior staff in her profession. And as well, she was a minister of the gospel of Christ because her husband became a pastor and they did things together very much. So they went to seminary together. She ended up having a master's after her bachelor's in theology. She ended up with a master's in theology. So she really loved to study. Of course, her husband ended up being a PhD, which she didn't go ahead to do. But my point is, she really loved knowledge and she believed that anything that she was going to practice, she would get the knowledge side of it first. And that was just brilliant. And again, like I said, if I look today at my siblings and I, we are a never-ending desire to learn. It's a continuous learning style that we've learned from our parents because we never saw them stop reading. Even when they were not in school, they are huge supply of books. They had so many books that they always read. And we read some of those books even without going to the schools to learn some of the things that we learned from the books that they had. So they valued education, and my mom really loved that we read and we studied, and she did not joke with our studies. Having said that, this very studious woman also didn't think that just because you want to be in academia or to study or have knowledge would stop you from knowing how to do stuff. And so in my case, there was a story of the day I had my final exams for my SSC, which is the final level in high school back home in Nigeria. She was cooking in the kitchen and I was studying for math. And I heard that scream from downstairs, "Where is Miss Ola?" Which is what she will call me. And they told her I was studying, and she said, okay, maybe she's gonna eat math. I was wondering, what kind of woman is this? Because I really wanted to excel in my math. And so she made me calm down, and she said to me, so is this the study of today that will make you excel in that math? If it's the study of today, then you never were ready for your exams. You've got to join me in this kitchen to learn to cook or cook with me, because you must have been studying for your math. After we're done eating, you can go back to your math.
She was a disciplinarian, and one event I remember very clearly was one evening she was cooking and Baby was upstairs studying, and she called. That time it was this phone where you dialed, and I picked up the phone, and there it was Morika saying, "Sister Ado, come and take your child Baby out of my house." And I asked what was the offense that Baby committed. She said, "Baby is upstairs studying and I'm here in the kitchen cooking." And I said, "Please, Monica, don't be angry with her. I apologize.
Well, I excelled in my math, but I made that food. And today, people that know me know that I really love to cook. So she transferred some of those things to us while ensuring that some other things didn't suffer. She was that good definition of work-life balance. She knew when to talk about work and when it was for school, but when it was supposed to be for home, and how that was a critical factor, critical thing to be doing at the right. So it was that principle of knowing to do the right thing at the right time. I learned that from my mom. The other thing that I think is critical about my mom is strictness. She was super strict. Her strictness, though, when I look at it today, was lesson-based strictness. So it wasn't strictness for the sake of strictness. It wasn't strictness for the sake of wickedness. There was always a lesson to learn. For example, the time in my teenagehood when I rolled my eyes at her. So she had just told me to do something, and I did not know she was still watching me. I was going outside, and I rolled my eyes. Oh, my. I had the lesson of my life that day. It was the first and last time I'll roll my eyes at anyone older than me, because she gave it to me big time. She taught me that you do not disrespect people, especially your parents. And so she gave me that love and value for her. The other strictness, which it was about importance of dates and celebrating people. And so I was probably 10 or 8, very young. I wasn't a teenager yet. And it was her birthday. At another time, it was Mother's Day. And the day was passing by. She was like, "Where is my gift?" But I didn't know to give. I did. And so she said to me, "No, it's my birthday. You're supposed to get me a gift. And if you don't do that, you're not taking care of your parents." Man, I did not know that. But my point is, she taught us the things that she knew that we would need to do in the world that were important. So celebrating birthdays, celebrating important days like Father's Day or Mother's Day, celebrating our siblings. My mom was that lesson giver, that intentional lesson provider. In her mind, she was preparing us for tomorrow. She was preparing us for life without her. She was preparing us to be leaders and change makers in the communities we find ourselves and with the people that we associate with. This is my mother, that teacher, that educator, that leader, that minister of the gospel of Christ, that pastor's wife, that person who gave her kids tools to be different, to make a difference in their generation. I'm speaking about the one and only Morika Omokemi Asiwaju.
Every moment I think about her, yes, she's been gone for years now, but to me, she's not gone. I think about the several wonderful times we had together, and I can smile and say indeed that is my friend. I never look at her as a was, but she will always be my friend. And her children are always my children.
Your life was brief but very impactful, that it cannot be erased from the planet. You were a woman of virtue. The Lord that loved you most chose to take you in His own time. And we submit to it, but we always remember you.
I want to thank God for her life. I thank God for the children that she raised within the short time. And by the grace of God, they all turned out to be wonderful men and women in their own right.
You are always on our hearts, and we see you every day.
There's no doubt about it.
Mama Winnie's absence has been deeply felt, but the mark she left on our hearts remains strong. We continue to honor her by carrying forward the kindness and unity that she shared. Continue to rest in peace.
Mama. As my uncle would say,
This is Oluwakemi Ashiwaju. I miss you very dearly. I can't even believe it's 20 years that you exited this sinful world. May your gentle soul continue to rest in peace. Rest on, dear friend, in the bosom of the Almighty God.
Really miss her every day, because long after she left, I realized that in as much as she was really hard on me, it was for the best. It was for the best, and I didn't have the opportunity to thank her, but I do that every day now. I do that with the life I live. I do that with every part of my being now. Love you, Mom. Love you so much, Mom. Keep pursuing.
Now, I believe in the power of journaling, in the power of writing down. Some of the things I'm sharing are things I've written down myself. And so here's my challenge to you that is watching. Have you ever stopped to reflect on what your mom did that has made you who you are today? Do you want to write that down in your journal and just reflect on the impact of that woman in your life? Or the comment section is also there. You might want to just put down some things there for us to read about and celebrate your mom with you. I don't want to do this alone. Remember, this is about us together. So let's celebrate our moms and remember who they are, what they contributed to our lives, and how much change and impact they made in our lives.
Mama, you're the song I sing, the steady drum beneath my wings. Through every trial, rise or storm, your love still keeps my heart